Hey everybody, decided to come down here this evening and go through a few of the items I picked up at the tractor show, at the QVEA show. Hit several vendors. Alright, so there was that one guy up front. He had those small Starrett V-blocks he wanted 20 bucks for, and that wasn't that bad of a price for those, even though they had some surface rust on them. But you know, he kind of was like, he was kind of an irritating guy, and that kind of turned me off. But I did end up making a purchase from him. He had this bundle of wrenches right here. These are all Craftsman gear wrenches, and Craftsman has two styles of these wrenches, and this style happens to be the style that has, just to show you the difference, this is one of my other Craftsman gear wrenches. This is the style that's more commonly found when you buy a set, and these have no shift lever on them, so to change direction you just flip the wrench over. But because you have to flip the wrench over to change direction, they make it perfectly straight, so it doesn't have that curve to it, and that's what I like about these. Drawback about these is I think this little lever makes them have one more item that can possibly go bad on you, but at least for the time being, Craftsman is still honoring their lifetime warranty on these wrenches. The next vendor that I came across that had some machinist tools, he actually had two of the old-fashioned machinist tool chests, the wooden ones, and he was asking quite a bit of money for those, but one of them was in really nice shape. The other one was kind of, actually one of them was cheap, and it was kind of a no-name one, and then the other one was the more traditional oak one with the really nice front, and even had the all of the felt was in good shape. Anyways, I didn't want to buy those chests because I know that those bring crazy money now. I think he wanted $250 for one of them. But there were a bunch of tools in there, and he had some other tools laying around, machinist tools, and I started going through, and I did see some items that I liked. But he pretty much knew what he had, and he knew what he could get for the stuff if he held out long enough, so it was a little hard dealing with him. But I spotted this mic. This is a Starrett micrometer, and actually is a I think this is a 1 to 2 inch. Actually, I don't even remember. But you know, the clicker works, and yeah, I'm pretty sure this is a 1 to 2. And I was looking at it, and it's like, oh, there's no case. It's engraved with somebody's initials. Actually, it's engraved with two different people, two different owners' initials. Name Mroczka, M-R-O. This is a name that, unless you were Polish, you would not know how to say. M-R-O-C-Z-K-A, and I happen to know that you pronounce that Mroczka because I actually know some people with that name. But anyways, I also noticed on this side it said C-A-P, and some of the other tools in the box were marked with the initial, with the person's name, and he put Peterson there. So it's C was the first name, middle initial A, Peterson, and Peterson and Mroczka aren't even close. So I gotta figure that these tools were on second and third owners, that kind of thing. Maybe it was an apprentice, and you know, handed down his tools. You know, a master handed down tools to an apprentice or something like that. But no box, no paper, no wrench. Say, you know, so we kind of bickered on this, and finally we were at 10 bucks, and then I happened to spot the standard was in the draw, 2-inch standard. So just for the heck of it, I used the standard, and I checked it, and it checked out perfectly fine. And I said, well, I'll tell you what, I'll give you the 10 if you throw this in. And he said, yeah, okay. So I got a 2-inch mic standard, and a Starrett 1 to 2 inch micrometer with the little click stop there that I like for 10 bucks. I like that. So that kind of broke the ice. I had picked this up and had thought, well, that's a nice little machinist's clamp right there, and it's not a homemade one like a lot of the ones you see. This is a genuine Starrett number 161B, I believe it says. But unfortunately, it's missing the other rod. So I think I got this for like $3. I think this was, yeah, I think I ended up paying him $3 because I just kept adding stuff on, and we ended up getting to the point where it's like I needed to round it up to a certain amount. So I probably paid about $3 for that. And you know, I'll at some point I'll make another rod to go on there. I think I've got one of these already somewhere, but I think it's just a no-name. So it'll be nice to have a little Starrett one. And he had this box of taps, small box of taps. And I was looking through the taps, and I got this reamer. This looks like a carbide reamer. It looks brand new. And let's see what this says. This says, well, there's a wealth of information on here. This actually says nothing. It's got a flat on one side here. And it's a short little reamer. It looks brand new, like I said. I think I got that for $1. Oops. But anyway, getting back to the taps. So I'm looking through the taps here, and I say to him, I say, well, so what do you get for the taps? And he says, well, he says, you know, you interested in all of them? And I said, well, yeah, maybe. So I think we talked about this, and went back and forth, and then at one point, I think when he was thinking, well, my counteroffer was too low, he was like, well, do you not want the handles? And I said, no, I actually kind of like the handles. Look at this little handle here. I don't have one this style. This is an interesting little handle. I like the nice rounded ends on it, and it's got this knurling here. This is actually, I didn't look at this close enough to see yet if there was a name on this. But if this is a homemade tap handle, which I'm thinking now it is, it's actually a pretty nice job somebody did on it. So I kind of like this little tap handle. And then there was this style. And this is actually a Craftsman, small Craftsman tap handle, but it's got the little hole in the back there, countersunk hole in the back there, so you could put a follower on it. So you could use that between the tailstock and something mounted in the chuck on the vise. So I think this ended up being like $15 for the two handles and all these taps. Don't really know if there's anything that's special in here. Oh, there's a taper. There's a tapered one. What's that? A pipe thread? Yeah, that's an NPT, so that's a pipe thread. 1/8 by 27. So, there's some really small ones in there too. I noticed a lot of the stuff in there was really small. I kind of got the feeling that maybe the guy was into maybe a little bit of gunsmithing or something. But that wasn't the deal of the century, but I didn't get hurt on it either, I don't think. So I left there and I found another guy who had a lot of junk and old stuff and parts and all. He had all kinds of stuff. He had a whole bunch of stuff to strewn about out there in the rain, and then he had a little tent area set up. One of those little walk-in kind of tent things, and that worked out great because with the rain you could go in there and look around. And he had some old tool boxes that stacked up with drawers that were actually kind of neat, and we talked about it, and I could have gotten them for $50 for the set, but I just thought, you know, I got so many cabinets and toolboxes now and everything. I'm gonna wait until I see, when I get everything set up the way I want it, and see then how my my toolbox situation is, and we'll go from there. But the drawers had all kinds of stuff in them and everything, and I was weeding through, and I didn't see anything I get too excited about the first time I went through. And then what actually happened was, the first time I went through, I asked him about the toolboxes, and it was really busy, and he started to think about what he wanted to charge, what he was going to ask for the toolboxes, and what he was going to do with everything in them. Because he said, well, do you want them with the contents? And I was like, well, no, not really, because I mean, there was so much stuff. I knew it was going to be, he was going to ask more than I wanted to pay. So then he kind of walked off to help another customer, and I was looking through the stuff and picked out a couple of items, and what I got was, for $1, I got this nice big chuck key. Again, you know, I'm getting to the point now of, if I can get them for 50 cents or $1 and I think it's worth it, I tend to be grabbing these chuck keys whether I need one or not. This is a Jacobs chuck key. This is a K4 Jacobs. Handle's a little bent, but that's a nice good size one. That might fit one of the larger chucks on one of the lathes somewhere down the road. So happy with that for $1. And then for another $1 I got, first I thought this was an end mill or something, so I open it up. Now look, it's a nice carbide burr. At least I think it's carbide. So I was like, oh, well, you know, that's a nice burr. Somebody must have just put it in here for safekeeping, because most of the other things that were in there were unboxed. And then I looked at this real close and I realized, no, it says right on here, it says P&W carbide burr. I think it says CS-264, the Atrax Company, Newington, Connecticut. Or maybe it says P8W. And yeah, it sure looks like it says carbide burr. Carbide BU something. So that's what I think. I think this is the original box for this burr. And the burr itself is marked CS-264-10 P8W. So, is that what I said? This said CS-264? Or did this not have it? Yeah, CS-264. That's what this is. Okay, so I think that was a good deal for $1. So anyway, so then I left. I went, walked around, checked out some other stuff, and looked at some of the exhibits. And then it started raining heavier, so I decided to go back and see if he had figured out what he wanted for those boxes. So I went back, talked to him about the boxes, and he said, well, he said, you know, he said somebody else bought one of the, he had another box there that had all this stuff in it. He said he had to dump all that stuff into some cardboard boxes, and he really was kind of attached to them at this point just for the storage of all the stuff he had. So he said, well, he'd sell the whole set for $50, and that wasn't an entirely outrageous asking price for what it was. They were older. They were kind of neat though. They kind of stacked up, and they had, some had drawers, but I think there was one drawer missing. And anyways, so I decided I'm going to pass on that. But then I started looking at some of the stuff I had initially just glossed over and thought, I don't want to bother with. And I says, well, how much you want for like these taps and that? And he says, well, he says, I've been getting like 6 for $1 type of thing in that. So I was like, oh, all right, well, then I think I'm going to take a look at it. So he suggested to me I just put together a pile, and then we go from there. You know, put together a pile of what I want, and then we'll work on price. So the first thing I did was kind of sort things. I went through and I found these reams, these reamers, and I didn't really see any major damage on these. Got a nice long handle on it. Another small one, a really long handle. These are all small, long, shanked. These are all straight. Well, no, that's a 2 straight flute. That's one. That one's got a spiral. These, some of these look like they might be carbide, and then that looks like it's just a regular tool steel one. That one's got a little tang on the end there. Looks like somebody marked that one 305, so maybe that's 305 thousandths. Not sure. But anyways, I got what, 6 of those. I grabbed this one It's funny because it was in the thing. I didn't even take it out and look at it now. I look at it. That one's really chewed up. That one's really got some damage on it. It's funny, I didn't know why I didn't notice that. I must have not taken this out because I would have seen that. That's junk. Anyways, so there was those. And I looked through the drill bits. There are a lot of drill bits that had been reground. So I just kind of focused on just this handful here. That these are ones that I looked at that either had really good edges on them that were reground but had really good edges on them, or didn't look like they had been touched. And a lot of these are these little stubby drills. And I had noticed that in one of Tubal Cain's videos, Mr. Pete there, he talked about, I look these stubby drills. So, you know, I like these stubby drills. So, you know, figure maybe I should have some stubby drills. So I got those drills. Then I noticed these. Get these all out together. Missed one drill. This one looks brand new. It's really small, a little stubby. That goes with that. Then I noticed these. So these are, I don't know if any of these are carbide or not. Some of these are marked. This one's Circular Tool Company of Providence, Rhode Island. This one is marked CS 188-14, half-inch HS, I guess, for high speed. Here's one marked Alfred Polk Tool Company, Millersburg, high speed. And this one's marked Morse 3/8 inch 90 degree. So anyways, these are, what do you call these? Are these chamfering tools, or for deburring holes, or not quite sure. For center drilling? No. Escapes me what this is for. These are, I think these are typically replaced by center drills now. So I think it used to be that you drill the hole and then you came back and you use this to countersink to give it that that hole for the live center or the dead center to sit in when you're doing lathe work. I might be wrong on that. But my thinking was these would be good for if I wanted to put a little bit of a chamfer on the edge of a drilled hole. So I paid next to nothing for it. So there were those. And then with these taps, I just went through and picked out all the taps that he had in there. These are all the taps that I picked out. There were a lot of damaged and broken taps in there, and I kind of weeded through, and some of them need some cleaning, but I didn't see any major damage on these, so these all look like pretty good taps. So look, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14. Yeah, I got over 20 taps there by the looks of it. So I put those in a separate pile, and I said, well, because that's all taps, so I kept those separately. Had this in a separate pile. Then I found this this 4-fluted end mill, small one, and a cotter pin. I forgot what was in here. Oh, that's another one of these things here. Baby version of that one. That one, though, looks brand new. That is very sharp. This is another one of these P&WA CS 188-8 Morse 3/8. So there's that. 2 more burrs. Kind of a cone-shaped one, skinny, and then this one. And this one's got the long shank on it, so you can really reach down in there and do some burring. And he had one chuck wedge there. This is number 3, so I'll put that with my collection of other ones that I've got there. And then I found these 2 little blocks of steel. This one clearly was made into something. There's a set screw so that whatever was slid into this hole could be locked into position. I don't know if that was a little stand maybe or something somebody made, but I figured that's just a nice little piece of steel to make something else out of if I wanted down the road. Same thing with that. Just a little block of steel. This one's marked RY800 on the side. I'm sure that has something to do with the kind of steel it is. I don't know. But so I said, well, how much for all that? And I actually had it in 2 piles, I think. And he said, well, he was thinking, I think he said $25. And I said, oh, I said, well, I said, and he said, well, he said, what are you thinking? And I said, well, to be honest with you, I was thinking $5 each pile. And he says, how about 15? And I was like, well, I said, I'll tell you what. I grabbed this brush that was sitting there. It's a good little parts washer brush. I said, how about you throw in this and a couple items I saw outside. And he said, well, which items? I said, well, I'll go get them. This is a chunk of aluminum, good sized thick block. This was clearly made into something, but I just liked the idea of being able to have a good sized chunk of aluminum here. If I need to mill something out of this, I can. So I said, that block of aluminum and this hammer that I had toyed with the idea of giving him $1 for earlier, but it was so beat up I was like going to pass on it. But I kind of like having another non-marring hammer. It's really chunked out here, so you know, it took a real beating. But I said, how about 15 for that? And he said, yeah, okay. So I'm happy with that. So as you can see, I didn't get any huge deals there or make any major purchases, and you know, the rain really kind of put a damper on the day. There weren't a lot of tractors to look at compared to what there usually is at a show like that. And so as far as buying stuff, that was kind of a bust. I came back into town and I was driving by the flea market that I frequent, and I said, yeah, just for the heck of it, I'm out already. Why don't I hit this flea market and see what I could find? And as luck would have it, saw the guy that I bought stuff from before. And let me start with this micrometer. This is a 0 to 1 inch micrometer. And this is a Lufkin number 1641, so it's not going to bring the kind of money that a Starrett does. But it's, you know, got the little click stop, which is nice. And I had seen this there a couple times before, and he's had this for a while and he never did end up selling it. It was actually in the drawers of a Kennedy toolbox he had for sale. And I was eyeing the toolbox because he wanted $125 for that Kennedy toolbox, but it was the good sized toolbox on top of the 2-drawer base. So, but it was one of those things where I didn't have anything that I could trade for it, and I didn't want to outlay the cash for another toolbox. Like I said, I've got a lot of cabinets and stuff to store stuff in as it is. So anyways, he had to take everything out of the toolbox and dump it on the table because the guy just wanted the box. So I spotted this, and let's go for $2. I'm not dissatisfied with that at all. So Lufkin is made in the USA, you know, and I believe it's a decent quality tool. But anyway, so that's kind of funny because I had just paid $10 for this one, significantly older Starrett model, and then I picked up this one for $2. And then he had put out another load of Morse taper drill bits. So I got these for $1 a piece. And they've got surface rust on them. But I'll tell you, I checked and not one of them has a bad set of lips on them. It can't be, you know, no major damage, nothing that can't be ground and sharpened for sure. This one may have been already had a lot done to it, I don't know. One straight shank one. This one I was going to pass on because it's straight shank, but I noticed that it's a, yeah, this is a standard tool, 5/8, but it's in pretty good shape. There's a chip on the end of the flute right there I didn't notice. But mainly I was after these, and I think I spotted on several of these that these are Cleveland Twist Drill Company drills. But those will go with the rest of my Morse taper drill bits to be sorted at a later date. I'll probably make a rack up for them or something. But I got these for $1 a piece. So 2, 4, yeah, it was 2, 4, 6, 8, and then $2 for that. So I made it $10 even. So that was, I think, the best buy that I got of the day.